The very phrase Fortnite Metaverse is enough to make some people cringe. Nevertheless, the Metaverse has existed in our game for 3 years now, and Epic Games clearly doesn't plan to stop there and will continue to develop this idea. However, despite all of Epic's ambitious plans, the Metaverse hasn't been doing well recently. A very strange Fall Guys mode was recently released, which set a low online record. It's unclear what Epic will do next. I want to discuss what will happen next with the Metaverse, how Epic should fix it, and why the Fall Guys mode was even necessary. I'd like to start with the most pressing issue, Crown Jam mode. I want to express my detailed opinion on this mode, because what is happening with it has genuinely surprised me. Rumors about its creation circulated for a very long time, with claims that the mode was being developed jointly with Warner Bros., and that it would have some kind of rating system. The relationship between Warner Bros. And Epic has always been quite warm, and before the mode's release, a huge number of collaborative skins with that company came out. Players speculated differently, first thinking it would be a superhero shooter like Marvel Rivals but with DC characters, then that it might be a revival of Multiversus in a Fortnite format. Finally, rumors emerged that the game would be like NBA but with Looney Tunes characters. In the end, we did get a basketball-style game, but it was Fall Guys. Honestly, this whole situation is incredibly frustrating. We could have had our own version of Marvel Rivals with DC characters, but instead we got a Fall Guys fragment that will only be in the game for 2 weeks. I'm not against Fortnite becoming a launcher where you can play different games. It's an interesting concept, but not for the time we are in now. Epic first needs to show its main audience that the Metaverse is a sound concept and that it can offer many great modes. Epic has succeeded in this before. Starting with Chapter 6, all the Metaverse modes we received were maximally in the Fortnite style, where we were literally given the opportunity to play Chapter 1 of Fortnite, or Ballistic, where you played with your Fortnite skins and wraps, and Blitz mode, which is literally based on different chapters of Fortnite. This is a great concept. I like the idea that we have a main game, and we can use its skins and items in other games within Fortnite. Therefore, I think it would be great if the Metaverse continued to develop in this direction. At the very least, a previously mentioned superhero shooter with DC character abilities or a Multiversus with Fortnite skins would be better. Even if we're not talking about copying other games, but about original modes, there have long been rumors about a car mode. They could create a Battle Royale spin-off without weapons, where the only way to win is to fight in cars, as it was in the Wrecked season. Such a mode wouldn't take much time or money to create. It's literally just adding a couple of devices to the current Battle Royale map. Wrecked Season has enough fans, and I'm more than sure that such a mode would have gathered much more online players at the start than the Fall Guys basketball, and the players would have been much happier. But instead, we got the Crown Jam mode, which has no single hint of Fortnite. You can't even pick up the bean version of a skin, and there are no Fortnite props, so it's not surprising that players have responded quite coldly to this mode. I don't oppose Fall Guys being in Fortnite eventually, but as I said, Epic needs to approach this issue very carefully and add things gradually. I want to remind you separately that this basketball mode was in development for over a year, a whole year. A huge amount of human resources and money was spent on some strange mode that will only be in the game for 2 weeks. At the same time, I want to remind you that Ballistic is still in early access. The last non-cosmetic update for Festival was in Chapter 5, when they added the battle stage. I find it unpleasant that every year we get modes that are subsequently abandoned, and nothing is done with them. The Fortnite universe is needed not just to surprise everyone with a huge number of games, but so that players can play literally anything they want within Fortnite. However, the lack of updates and content for other modes means that after a while, people simply don't want to play some of them. Honestly, it seems like there's some kind of mess going on in Epic's office. Personally, I like the concept of Fortnite becoming a launcher with a huge number of other interesting games, but this concept has an obvious implementation problem. We've touched on some of these problems earlier, but now I'd like to draw your attention to others. If Epic wants to compete with Roblox, they definitely need to do some things properly, not haphazardly. Take, for example, the thin client that they've been promising to release for 2 years now. The fact that a game with a million different modes still doesn't have proper memory management is honestly amusing. For instance, to download Roblox on your phone, you only need about 200 megabytes, but Fortnite takes up to 30 gigabytes. If a player sees some cool Battle Royale mode in Fortnite and wants to play it, They will look at the game's size and simply be too lazy to wait for it all to download, so they'll go to the same type of game, but on Roblox. This is the main problem with the concept of Fortnite as a launcher for different games. Players coming for Fall Guys, who want to play the new mode, don't care about Festival, Ballistic, or anything else. But it all takes up memory. Players need to be given the opportunity to play what they want, and only have the modes they need in their memory. Instead, we have a situation where such a seemingly simple function has been promised for years, but we still haven't received it. This manifests itself in everything, including the previously mentioned support for modes. It feels like Epic's priority right now is to appease investors and show them that the metaverse concept works, while players simply cannot be convinced of this. It's unclear what will happen with Festival next. It's completely unclear whether Ballistic will ever leave beta access, or if it will suffer the same fate as Rocket Racing. Ideally, Epic should first start supporting the existing modes to boost online numbers, and make new ones that the Fortnite audience will warmly embrace, such as an extraction shooter, which is often discussed lately, or the car-based battle royale we talked about earlier. The metaverse should offer players the ability to play different modes, but with the current distribution of content, it turns out that people only want to play a few of them. Epic has simply abandoned some of the modes. I'm not saying the metaverse concept shouldn't exist, or that Fortnite should remain only a battle royale. No, that's a rather childish position. I'm just saying how cool it would be if the modes we already have were at least finished, and only then would they start adding things like Fall Guys and so on. After all, if Epic's goal was to drop a mode in the middle of the season, they could have released one of the old limited time modes. They have 1 million of those in reserve. Or they could have made a battle royale based mode like Delulu. This would surely require much fewer resources than porting a piece of one game into another. The metaverse has existed in our game for 3 years. And after such a long time, I would like to see it actually developing and acquiring new features, not just standing still and repeating the same mistakes as before, but on a larger scale. I want to see a real result from this experiment, and the result should primarily be one that makes players happy.